This episode of Geni's Way is brought to you by Unique Marketer, where passionate marketing delivers powerful results. In this episode of Geni's Way, I'm sitting down with someone who completely flipped the script, Sue Anderson. She went from grinding it out as a copywriter deep in hustle culture to creating a retreat center for entrepreneurs. We get into the fundamental truths, morning routines that actually work, attracting aligned clients, and how nature, yes, trees and fresh air can literally reset your mindset and your business. We're unpacking the part of success most people skip, the process, the pruning, and the principles that reveal real everyday life lessons. So now, let's get into it. Hi, I want to welcome you guys back to Geni's Way for another exciting episode where we talk about marketing, mindset, and much, much more. I want to introduce Sue Anderson. She's not your typical coach or a communication expert. She's a founder of Triumph Communication and Wildwood Retreat Center. And she will tell you all about her retreat center and her communication, exciting experience, and also copywriting experience. Let's welcome Sue Anderson. Yay!
Thank you so much. It's so great to be here, Geni.
So, I've noticed that you have that wild, it seems like everywhere. There must be something in there. Can you tell me what that word means to you in business and personal life? I can't wait to hear that.
For sure. Yeah. Well, I'll start with in business. It's kind of funny. I have been a copywriter for 20 years, and I basically used to live indoors looking at the screen all the time, working. I believed all of hustle culture saying you just have to work really hard. You can sleep when you're dead. So I didn't really even go outside for like 17 years out of the 20 years I've been in business, because I thought, well, my work's not done, so I can't do that. That changed after I read a book by a guy named Trevor Blake, and now we're building this retreat center. So this was a very wild pivot that I made in life and in business, going from just working on screens all the time to building a retreat center and making the very first part of my day time that it's spent outdoors in the wild. Since then, I've realized that a lot of entrepreneurs are in that same boat, and they kind of need to get outside too. So I started a podcast called Entrepreneurs Gone Wild. My writing business has gone wild, and now the retreat center is out in the wild. So it shows up everywhere. And then personally, that's we're building this, and it's been a complete life change for us. So things have gone a little wild at age 57.
Oh, wow. Things got a little wild. Okay. What is one wild thing that you've done in business and that paid off, but it felt like really wild? Is that your retreat center?
That's definitely.
That you decided to build?
Definitely the retreat center. This is something that I never really imagined I would be doing until I had the idea for it. And then I couldn't imagine not doing it. But it's a bit of a strange move. Family and friends and people who've known me for a long, long time are like, you're doing what? So definitely a wild move to say, we're going to go buy 35 acres in the Smokies and build this retreat center.
Yeah, after being glued to the computer, like you say, for 17 years?
Yes, 17 years. The change, God. It's a big change.
Yeah. And how's the entrepreneurship challenge your identity? How did that challenge your identity?
Oh, man. It has been just one challenge after another. I didn't think that I was going to be an entrepreneur. I went to school to become a therapist and then realized I really didn't like it. So I went back to school to become an accountant, and I didn't really like that so much either. So
therapist, accountant?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And I was just kind of stuck and wondering, what on earth am I going to do? And I hired a coach, and she helped me to realize that I'm a very good writer and that there's actually a need for writers. I always thought writers just wrote books. But when I got started in 2005, the internet was starting to become a real thing. And she said, every business out there is going to need writing. I thought, all right, well, let's do this.
So you always liked writing, or you didn't even realize you liked it?
I loved writing, but I just thought that was like the only option would be writing books, maybe, or being a reporter. And I didn't really like either of those ideas, because writing a book, I do, and I've written many books, but I didn't realize like it didn't have to be like a fiction book. Like you could actually make money writing nonfiction that would help people very specifically with services. So that's what I did. But I didn't know that, being a commercial writer, being a copywriter, I had no idea that was a thing.
And how did entrepreneurship help you discover your authentic self?
Oh, that's good. My first coach said that starting a business was going to be probably the biggest personal development exercise I ever did. And she was really right. This is now, 21 years ago that I worked with her. Learning how to lead, learning how to figure out what I was really good at, what I could serve people with, learning to have those conversations, learning not to hide. That was one reason I thought being a writer would be great. I thought I'll never have to talk to humans, but because I used to be very, very shy.
You were on the podcast, and you were a podcast host yourself.
It's crazy. It's crazy. I would never have thought. I used to be so shy that I just thought, oh. But after I started with this and started growing into it, I'm like, I actually really love talking to people. Not the small talk, but I like nice, deep conversations. And that's a lot of what I do. So that's been a lot of growth that has happened from that.
So you discover that your authentic voice is actually having a deep conversation. That's interesting. You know why I say that? Because it was the same for me, but I didn't discover it until I started doing podcasting.
Oh,
That's
wow.
what got me into like realizing that. And everybody saying like, oh, well, Geni, you ask such great questions. Oh, Geni, you just keep digging until you get to the real depths in wisdom and why and all of that. I'm like, huh.
Who knew? Podcasting will do that,
Yeah,
Podcasting will reveal.
Podcasting opens so many things that you don't realize you have it in you. So if I have to answer that question, because the reason I even got into that, because it's kind of somewhat similar to me. I didn't realize that's my authentic self, and I really love having those depths of the conversation.
Yeah,
It is amazing.
It's a good kind of conversation to have, isn't it? I like that.
I love that. Hey, folks, don't go away. We'll be right back. This episode is brought to you by Unique Marketer. Now imagine your business leading, not following. Meet Unique Marketer. We don't shout or whisper in a way that brings everyone to listen. Unique Marketer changes the game with connection marketing. We turn our audiences into communities, eager for your story. Insightful tools guide us, not just an attitude of sales. Our approach: connect, resonate, transform. If you're interested in learning more, Unique Marketer gives Geni's Way listeners a free digital analysis and strategy goal. Use Listen Up with the link in show notes. Lead with Unique Marketer, where we help your business shine. So Sue, we were talking about entrepreneurship. There's that one question that not always I get to ask, but I feel like for you would be very interesting. What misconception about entrepreneurship you want to just kill it, to bust it right now, right here, right now? Tell me.
There's no contest.
The listeners.
I know exactly the one, and it's hustle. Hustle, hustle, hustle. Work until you drop. You can play after you've finished everything. If you're not working, your competitors are catching up, all of that kind of stuff. That was really prevalent when I was first starting my business, and I believed it.
Mm.
And so I worked and worked and worked and worked, and my kids suffered from that. Yes, I was making some money, which was good. I needed to support the family, but I missed out on a lot of stuff, and that was really hard. And I hate hustle culture. I hate that what it does to families and to people's businesses, to their creativity, all of that. So I would say, in fact, if I could travel back in time 20 years, I would tell myself, there's going to be this thing. You're going to hear people say that you need to work and work and work and work and work. Don't listen. Don't buy it. Don't let them in your life, in your heart, in your mind. None of that. You need to have breaks.
That's great. I usually ask that question. You kind of settle down too. Like, what would you give yourself advice if you were to your younger self? But also that brings me to a different question. What is the best way for people not to get into the hustle culture? How would you recommend them to just not get sucked into that?
The best advice I can give is every day, first thing before you do work, sitting down at your desk, and now you're going to sit at the computer for hours, go outside and have a walk first in nature.
Yeah.
Like, that is the best thing. Don't put anything in your ears, no podcast. You're not talking to anybody. Just go for a walk by yourself. No podcast.
And we're both podcasters.
I know. Okay. So that's
ironic.
Something. But I think you need time for your brain to be a little bit bored, a little bit quiet, so that you can get really great ideas. And if you'll do this, I feel like when I do this, those days, the rest of my work day goes really well, really smoothly. I have better ideas, all of this kind of stuff. If I neglect it, then it doesn't go as well. And I set myself up for just working.
So you do that the first thing you get out of bed?
No, after breakfast. I got to have my coffee first. But I've got 4 dogs, so I walk 3 of them. One of them's very old, but I'll take the 3 of them, and we go walking around in the hills and in the woods, and it's wonderful. 15 to 30 minutes, and that really sets the whole tone for the day.
So since we're talking about the morning, one of my other favorite questions, like, do you have a morning routine?
I do. It's kind of evolved over the years and changed, but so hubby and I will have breakfast. I love to cook breakfast, so I make breakfast every day, and coffee.
Is that more like therapeutic for you because you love it so much?
Yeah, it really is. And we always have French press. I love a French press coffee. And so we'll have our breakfast, and then as I'm doing dishes and getting ready for the day, I always put on a video. It's either lately it's been Myron Golden or Eileen Wilder. I love both of them. And it just gives me something really good to think about throughout the day.
Is that like more of inspiration for you, your day?
Yeah. So it's with Myron, he brings in like Christian principles in business. So he talks about that. So sometimes I'll listen to his Bible study. Sometimes I listen to just his business stuff. Eileen is one of his students and or clients. So it's interesting because a lot of the same kinds of messages, but I enjoy both of them. And sometimes it'll be like, oh, I got to, I'll take notes. Oh, I got to think about this. And other times Myron it's too. Just, oh yeah, you love it then. And then I get my hiking boots on, get the dogs leashed up, and go for that walk. And that's pretty much the simple morning routine that I have now. It takes an hour maybe, and then I'm ready for work.
Some people do a little bit of meditation in the morning. Some do breathing exercises. Do you involve any of those type of activities in the morning?
Yeah, actually, I do that before I'm out of bed. Most mornings lately, for some reason, it's been about 4:30 in the morning and I'm awake. Like, okay, well, it's still dark, can't really do anything. But might be 5:30, and I have my prayer time and meditation then, which I love because it's just quiet, and it's a great thing to do before my feet even hit the floor.
Yeah, it's interesting. Dr. Joe Dispenza recommend to do things like this before you hit the floor, because the first 5-10 minutes, that's where you're still in transition from sleeping to waking hours. So that's how you set the tone for your day. So I laugh. Yeah. I'm a big follower of Dr. Joe Dispenza. He's
pretty smart.
transformational experience if you truly study and follow his thing. Yeah.
Definitely.
So, Sue, how do you personally balance the drive for results with staying deeply aligned with your purpose and your mission?
That's a great question. I don't think that they're not separate. So the results
Okay.
that I want are really all about service. And that's what the whole, between my business writing and then also in the retreat center,
It
it's
is
really to serve.
now, but it
Yeah.
has always been that way?
It really has. I've always just been very service minded. When I first started, I actually didn't charge enough because I was like, oh, I want people to have the writing that they need. So sometimes service was a little unhealthy, aiming at, it really comes down to people pleasing at that point. But growing through that and seeing that for everybody to win, I'm included in that, which is important.
It's interesting. I had several conversations about not charging enough, not charging your value. Specifically, I had a money coach on my show, Georgiana McDonald, and she's like all about that. You need to know your worth, but it's difficult when you're just starting out. How do you overcome not knowing your worth and believe in yourself? What do you do to believe in yourself? How would you help people to get there to believe in themselves? What would you advise?
That's a huge journey that it's taken a long, long time for me to feel like I've got that now. When I was starting, same thing. Like, what do you charge? I don't know. Like there's people out there with, so much experience and I'm starting, and how do I know, what's fair? There's a lot of questions like that. As far as finally owning that value, I think when we've got a little bit of a track record, that helps a lot. I always say that the best thing about entrepreneurs is we take ownership of a problem that we didn't cause, and then we figure out a solution to serve other people with it. Sometimes it's a problem that we had personally. So, maybe it was, it could be anything, whatever, a lot of businesses start because people had a problem and they figured out a solution. So when somebody's had that, it's very easy to, like, you've solved the problem. You don't remember the value of solving the problem. Like, it's all good now. You don't have a pain point.
It took you like maybe 5 or 10 or more years to get to the point of that solution. And it could be therapy. It could be thousands of hours and thousands of dollars of personal development before you read the light come on and say, oh, I got this. I have a solution. Exactly. And I think when you're trying to figure out the value, it's a big thing for people in any business, in any industry. You just have to develop that trust and figure out what is that value. Yeah. And the same goes, I always ask my entrepreneurial friends and experts, how do you, when you're starting your business specifically, how do you know who are you supposed to be serving? Do you do trial and error, or do you just know from the beginning?
Yeah, for me, it was crazy. So just doing writing, I was like, I'll write for anybody who will pay at first.
Isn't that I hear a lot of that, and I don't even know if that's really a wrong answer. Yeah. How do you discover who you're really supposed to be serving if you haven't worked with people per se at all? Like you're just starting out. Exactly. I hear some strategists or experts say, you just need to pick one and go, but what if that's not the right one?
Well, even if it is, sometimes the people who actually show up as clients are very different from the people you thought you were going to serve. And that was the case for us. So in my agency, we ended up writing thousands of pieces of content for heating and air conditioning companies. I would never have chosen that. But after we had done so many, it became really easy because we knew all this stuff, which was great. And we knew we were helping these, smaller businesses to be able to stand out and find their own customers and all that. So it worked out really well, but I would never have planned on that. That would not have been the niche I would have thought.
You think you might know who your ideal client at the beginning, but you don't know. So in most cases, what you seen in your experience and you talk with other entrepreneurs, the people just show up, the one that you're supposed to serve? Is that what you've seen?
I think eventually they do. If you get busy doing the thing that you do and do it really well, other people are going to hear about it. And you start hearing things like, oh, well, I know you usually write for heating and air conditioning, but hey, I'm a coach. Could you write for me? Well, of course I could. So it just starts to kind of spread, but you're in motion. And then I think that's when other people start showing up and wanting your service.
I just want to make sure that you explain what's showing up. They don't just show up. You have to keep moving forward and keep working at it and keep producing your craft. And because people might misinterpret showing up. Oh, I just wait and they show up. That's not what Sue is saying. Correct?
Right. Exactly. Yes. Usually it ends up happening through referrals. So when you've served somebody else really, really well, usually they're going to have somebody who is, hey, who did your content? Oh, well, talk to her, like that. It ended up being,
and this naturally happens, but you have to keep moving with your craft and keep working until you get more of the same type of services. Then maybe that's my ideal people.
Exactly. And so sometimes too, it's like
keep working.
Yeah, sometimes it's like you see things that are in common with the people that you like serving. So it might not be their industry, but it might be, oh, they're really high integrity. Oh, it's a small business. Oh, it's a family-owned business. There are other things other than just their industry that can really signal that this is a great client for you.
Their values, their interests.
Right.
Yeah, that's good. Well, Sue, how did you make that bridge? What happened? All of a sudden, one day you decided that you no longer want to be a copywriter. Sounds like you're still doing it, maybe just not on that greater scale. And I want to do retreats and I want to do something more wild than ever before.
Yeah, it's a crazy turn. So I read a book by this guy, Trevor Blake, called 3 Simple Steps. And in this book, he was talking about how he's built all these, multi-million, 7, 8, 9-figure businesses. And the fact that he spends just a few hours a day working, and most of those hours, it's crazy. Most of those hours, he's out walking in the woods or walking his dogs. And I was like, this is crazy. That can't be possible. But it really is.
It can't be possible, right?
I was like, that's nuts. But it really is. Like, I knew him personally through somebody. I was like, all right, it's not imaginary. This guy really did this. And so I read that book and it was just kind of in my brain. And I started going, all right, he says you get great ideas outdoors. I'll try it. I'm not going to like it. I already know I'm not going to like it, but I'll try it. And I didn't like it at first. And then after a while, I started to like it and wanting more of it. Then there's a guy named Frank Kern who had done a YouTube video called Your Perfect Average Day. It's not unique to him. A lot of coaches will have you do this exercise. But I watched that one and I was just kind of letting it percolate in my brain. And then one day I was on a long car drive and all of a sudden I got this idea. Hey, you should build a retreat center for entrepreneurs. Do it in the Smokies. I thought, that's crazy. I better pull over for a moment.
It almost sounds like download.
Yes, it felt like a complete download. It was like, once I had the idea, it was like, oh, here's where you'll do it. Here's who it'll serve. Here's how you'll market it. Here's how you'll find funding for it. Here's what you'll build on. Like one after another. And I was like, oh my goodness. So I pulled the car over and I started taking notes. And after a while, I thought, I have still like 4 or 5 hours of this car drive. I can't sit here taking notes. So I'm just going to keep driving and take notes with one hand, not looking, and driving with the other and keeping my eyes on the road. Hopefully that'll work out okay. I won't get killed or kill anybody. And then I came home and I had, there's my husband and I'm like, hear me out. I have a crazy idea, but what do you think of this?
Wow. So that was your craziest pivot you ever taken, or there were other crazy pivots in your life?
That's probably the craziest one. And and
And
at the
what did
time
it
I
teach
was,
you?
uh, what did it teach me? I think not to be afraid of the crazy ideas, because maybe it's a great idea. And the best thing is to start talking about it and see, how are people responding to this? Do they, I mean, other than the people who are like, you're crazy, that's nuts, you're 55 at the time, that's crazy. But are there other people who are like, oh, wow. And I kept hearing from people, oh, please do this. I need this. Please make this. Please build it. So that was very interesting, seeing the power of sharing your vision. To see the surprised support that we got, I was really shocked by that. But I was really glad that I learned that lesson. Go ahead and talk about it when you get a crazy vision.
So that's the biggest lesson you learned from that experience?
That, and then, it's been day after day after day. I have new lessons that I'm learning here. A lot of things about, I feel like God has brought me here to do this, that this is the next assignment that I have. And then there are times where I'm like, okay, how are we possibly going to do this? It's about $1 million project. I raised about 60,000 and we've been bootstrapping. So every day it's kind of like, okay, God, what's the plan here? Maybe I don't need to know the plan, but I just need to know I'm, following you, because this is something that I could not possibly do. We don't have the people to do it. We don't have the money to do it. It's just all falling into place bit by bit, just a little bit enough each day that we can keep going and seeing, yep, we're on the right path.
Wow. That's one of the things I truly believe in, and you just need to keep moving, and past will reveal on the past. You don't have to know the final exact plan, but as long as you truly believe in it and have the vision, then it will open up the way how to get there, one day at a time, one little achievement. How do you celebrate your successes? Do you wait for a big finish of a one phase in your case, or do you celebrate a little success all throughout your journey?
That's such a good question, Jenny. I used to not celebrate at all because I was like, oh, well, I was supposed to do that. This is fine. It just went according to plan.
That goes back to the hustle culture. You just work, and you don't even
you don't celebrate.
Take time. You don't celebrate.
Exactly. And now I'm huge on celebrating. And I always remind other people when they've done something like, how are you going to celebrate? And they're usually like, oh, I hadn't thought of that. So little things like, just for me, journaling, and I'll go crazy about that. There are times where I'm might be dancing out in the pasture or out in the woods, like woo, little happy dance, that type of thing. And my husband is very, very supportive. So anytime something great goes on, we do a little, high five, and we just take a moment to celebrate what the wins are.
And it's nothing like celebration doesn't mean that you have to be celebrating for a week or the whole weekend. It's just taking a moment and recognizes. And it's almost like, to me, it's almost like being grateful. It's very similar, like being grateful for every little step and all the support and everything you're getting along the way. That's, to me, that's celebration. You don't have to be going drinking all day long or anything like that.
I'm too old for that.
So I think people, it's like, all those definitions that celebration means so many different things to so many different people. That kind of bring me to next question that I always like to ask: what does your success look like? What's your definition of success now, and how was it different before?
Oh, before it was, all right, did I make all the bills? Did I save a little bit of money aside? Was I able to invest a little bit? Was I able to pay my tithe? This type of thing. Now it's a whole different thing. I'm really looking for, how did I serve? Like, is that person's life better because of what I did for them, whether it's from writing or with the retreat center? And not forgetting myself in that. So did I have time? Did I take the time and spend that on myself to go have a walk or go sit and put my feet in the creek, or
self-care?
That self-care stuff. That's a huge, huge part of what feels like success now.
I'm really big about that.
It's really important. It's very easy to forget to do.
Because if you don't take care of yourself, who's going to take care of you? You're not going to be no good for anybody.
Exactly.
Your friends, your family, or your community. And now especially you on an exciting journey of building a community and retreat, you need to take care of yourself. That's very important. I don't want to forget you have a wealth of expertise and knowledge in the copywriting world. How do people go about if they, for some reason, don't feel like they're able to afford to buy services from a copywriter? What are the best tips you can give them until they're able to afford or see the value of hiring one? Well, what would you tell them?
Fantastic question. So a couple things. One, sometimes they can speak into their phone a lot better than they can write. So the best writing sounds like you would talk with a friend. That's the best thing you can do. And for a lot of people, they'll sit down to write and it gets weird. They're hearing their second grade teacher saying, "Oh, that's wrong. You can't write like that." Or various things. And the hardest business to write for is your own. I have a hard time sometimes writing for my own business because you're too close to it.
Interesting, huh?
Yeah, it's really weird. So if they can get out of their heads and start recording audio, that's a big, big thing. The other tip that I would share is tell stories. Don't come in with, "Hey, I have this thing and you need to buy it and it's really great and you should totally get this." Like, nobody wants that. But if you can tell a story of transformation, whether it's your own or something that you did for a client, that's going to go much, much further. And people relate with stories. They connect with that. It hits them on a whole different level. And it's not going to immediately get this wall. So learn how to tell really good stories. And you can do that by reading more, by watching some really good films. That's a great thing. And there are so many people on YouTube or other places that for free, that's their specialty, is teaching you how to tell a great story. That's a wonderful skill to have.
Those are a couple of very great tips. I think you're talking about hero journey, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, that's one way to go with it. There's a lot of different things. Having some structure to your story is a great thing. That's really good. But there's also ways that you can do it that are not so official as hero's journey. But learning the hero's journey you'll start to spot it every movie that you're, okay, this is what's happening.
Well, what are the other one? There's hero journey, and I think there's two more. I just can't remember them.
Yeah, I like to use, I've heard it called the Pixar framework. So like Toy Story, that type of thing, where it follows, a lot of the Pixar movies have the same basic framework. And so you might be going, "Oh, this is what's going on. Here's what their goal was. But this happened. And then this happened. And then this happened. And then this. And oh my goodness, are they going to make it through?" That type of thing. So that's a really good one to look up as well. Now with ChatGPT, you can ask it like,
I was going to ask you, that you brought up the subject, because I'm going to say, I hear a lot of copywriters are like, ChatGPT will take my job away. So it doesn't sound like you're scared.
Well, I was. So my agency used to specialize in SEO content, so blog posts and website content. And after we were fine until COVID happened, most of my clients at the time were marketing agencies. So they were still fine, but their clients were not fine. And eventually those people cut their marketing budgets entirely. A lot of them lost their businesses during COVID. And then those that survived soon after, here comes ChatGPT, and they're like, "Oh, thank goodness, I don't have to pay for writing anymore. I can just do it myself." And back then, ChatGPT was not great. It was kind of crazy, actually. But a lot of them, they stopped ordering. And so I realized, wow, and I was hearing those copywriters as well saying, "This is going to take my job, my business." And it very well could. But I realized there was something that ChatGPT can't do that a human can do. And it was one of my specialties. And that was actually interviewing people. And so I'm able to interview somebody, get really good content from them, hear their stories, hear their passion, their actual voice. And now I can use ChatGPT, to draft things that with all my experience, I can go, this is good, that is not good, and can refine the content like that. Now I'm able to create it much faster and have it be infinitely better than what they could do just on their own. So it has been a dramatic, turn of events, basically seeing, oh, the computer, the bots are going to take my job. And then now it's one of my favorite colleagues.
See? So how sometimes we assume and react and see something something like this is negative, but they really turn out something positive. Instead of being angry, you figure out how to help yourself be more productive. Sounds like what you did. But how did you keep yourself balanced in those few, 3 to 6 months? How did you know that it's not going to take your job? What did you do there?
Oh,
do you have
to be honest, I was I was very distraught. I thought, I don't know what I'm going to do. Do I need to look for a whole other business model?
Career?
Do I need to, career? Do I need to get a job somewhere? Like, I don't know. And there were some very, very dark days when I thought, I'm stuck. What am I going to do? This is a disaster. But,
how'd you come out of it?
Just staying the course. I think, continuing to pray and think about it and ask people and, just hanging in there basically until all of a sudden it was like, oh, and I know for sure, like listening to Myron Golden helped a lot because he talks a lot about it's important to have a business that's built in the age in which you're doing business. So, there was the agricultural age, the industrial age, the distribution, all these different ages. And we were, here in a brand new age. It's very important to figure out how to make that pivot in order to work in what's actually going on. So,
yeah, being able to to pivot is such a powerful skill. One of the most powerful skills, in my opinion, for entrepreneurs, because you constantly have to pivot. There maybe you have to be putting out too many fires, or industrial revolution, or technical improvements, and all of that. Is it necessarily bad? No, it's just different, and you have to figure out how you can help your business, amplify your business instead of running from it, because you can't run from it. And there it is. You have to figure out how to help your business. So pivoting is tremendously important, and then the drive and determination and not quitting.
Yes, it's huge, and it would have been very, very easy to quit many, many times. And there were days, I won't lie, there were days when I wanted to just curl up in a ball and cry because I'm like, this is going nowhere. I don't know what to do. But eventually it hit me.
Well, that's one of the reasons that I'm doing podcasting. That I know that people think like, oh, it's always the sunshine and roses, or always glorious days, but it's not. Going through periods as entrepreneurs that we're in a dark place. Does anybody care? Am I important? And maybe even sad and crying and trying to figure it out. What is it we're doing? Why we're doing what we're doing? But it's not what exactly we're going through, and we all have dark moments. It's how we're dealing with it, and it's like stepping back, giving yourself grace, and spending some time in the woods at 2 retreats. Speaking of retreats, let's talk about that. What was the most, I want to say, what's the most transformational experience that you don't need to say it like their name or anything. What have you seen the most transformational so far happen from people that would attend? I think you had already some people that attended, correct?
No, we've had some guests, no paid customers or guests yet, because what we're building a whole bunch of different structures eventually, but the first one is still being built. And we've had some people who've camped here. But even with that, or even people who've come for just a tour, they're like, oh, wow, it's quiet. Like, it's so quiet. I can hear myself think. Or what an amazing thing. I was just skipping stones in the creek, throwing stones, and wow, it was just healing. We had one guy that camped, and it rained the whole night, and he was in a tent, and I thought, oh my goodness, but he was like, this was exactly what I needed. And I'm like, that's amazing. I thought he'd be miserable.
What do you
and
think
wet.
it is? Is it energy of the blues?
I think
Is
it's the energy.
Mm.
Yeah, he said this might sound crazy, but he's like, the land here sings. And I was like, really? And I can see what he meant, and I agree. There's just something that feels very special when you're here.
So it's not going to be all workshops, or you're going to do some workshops?
Yes. Well, once it's all built, we're going to have all kinds of things like that. We'll be able to host, small groups or writers who want to come and write their book, or companies that want to come and do their planning, that type of thing. I'm studying to be a forest therapy guide. So that's just at the beginning stages.
That fits right in, isn't it? Yeah.
It does. It does. And so this will be fun to be able to, help people.
I didn't even know there's such thing exists.
It's a thing. It's a thing. So it'll be helping people to get their most out of their time that they're spending in the woods.
So you're actually going through a certification, huh?
Yeah, certification. And
oh, wow.
then also, because we're about 15 minutes away from town, but there are a lot of, yoga instructors and things like this. So we'll be able to bring in massage therapists and yoga and, you want to learn how to, garden? Well, we have a mini farm here. So they can learn that. They can learn about permaculture. They can learn how to do, some old skills of, how to make a fire, things like that a lot of people who've spent way too much time indoors, they don't know how to do it. So this will be really great to be able to teach them.
That sounds exciting. Why do you think so many entrepreneurs feel isolated?
Yeah, they are. I mean, it's not just a feeling. They really are, especially online entrepreneurs. Like, what are the odds if you went and you knocked on your next door neighbor's door and tried to explain to them what you do? They're going to think you're crazy. If they have a normal job, right? They're going to, this is crazy. You do what? You talk to people on a podcast and what? That's your business? I mean, it's crazy sounding, right? And our families don't always understand either, especially, if they've had regular jobs, that we just seem like crazy people to them. And I understand that, but it leaves people feeling very lonely. The only time they see people is on a Zoom call. They don't see, people who really get them. They don't see them face to face. And that's another reason that I'm really glad to be doing this retreat center, because I thought they can just sit around a campfire together. And then you come away, you've got best friends because you went camping together.
Feel connected to other people, feel connected to the nature, and, re-energize their fire and their creative spirit.
Yes.
That's awesome. We covered a lot of ground, so many pearls of wisdom. Is there anything you would love to say in closing? Anything I didn't ask, or any last thoughts that you want the listeners to take away? Yeah.
So definitely, I always tell people this: get outside. Like, that is the best thing that you can do. Just spend some time out there. Bring a notebook. Bring your phone if you have to bring your phone, but don't use it unless you absolutely have to. And
just for emergency.
Just for an emergency, But just sit with your thoughts. Let your mind wander a little bit. Remember back to when you were a little kid and you might be, picking the grass or picking clovers and just sitting there. And let that time be yours, because it's really going to help you.
I can just feel that when you were saying that. Feel like you're a kid again. Get closer to nature.
Yeah.
Wow. I love that. That's a great closing. I really appreciate your time and your wisdom. And thank you, Sue.
I'm absolutely thrilled to be here. Thank you so much for having me, Jenny. I appreciate it.
Yeah, we'll have all your links in the show notes.
Sue reminded us today that the most powerful thing you can do for your business and your life is to build from a place of clarity, alignment, and stillness. Yes, stillness. Whether it's rethinking your morning routine, celebrating small wins, or finding the courage to walk away from hustle culture. I hope this episode gave you permission to rewrite what success looks like on your own terms. If you love this conversation, be sure to subscribe, share it with a fellow entrepreneur, and tag us for your biggest takeaway. Until next time, see you